Hi, my name is Ali Sitar, and today I want to talk about embodiment in psychedelics, the role of our body and our sensuality in psychedelic therapy. A little bit about myself. I'm a Bachelor of Management Information Systems. I'm a student of sexual shamanism and an intern of couple therapy. I came here today because I want a better society for myself, my friends, and my family. I want to live in a world with more harmony, peace, and happiness. And also, less disgust, but definitely something that we all want, a more healthy and vibrant sexuality. Which is why, 5 years ago, after almost a decade working in startup companies, I decided to leave the corporate world and to learn and later teach about sexuality, my emotions, and my body. Those topics influenced me the most in my life and were also the least accessible to me in my adulthood. I started doing those workshops and sessions worldwide, traveling from different countries to make this knowledge accessible to all. People came to me to private sessions and group workshops with the most unresolved, intimate problems, difficulties in their relationships, and especially in their sexuality. Low self esteem, disconnection from the body, problems with communications, lack of touch and love, and most importantly, a lot of sexual dysfunctions, inability to hold and sustain pleasure for a meaningful amount of time in an intimate connection. Not to say that those issues created a big yearning and gap in my client's life. When I work with those people about those problems, their connection to their body, their sexuality, and their emotions, it showed in many, many beautiful results, but most of all, in increased mood, better relationship, more energy and passion in their life. I basically taught them all kinds of ways of connecting to the body, connecting through breathing, through feeling, being and moving, expanding, enjoying, and connecting. I later discovered that all of those topics actually really were very much alive also in my psychedelic journeys and all kinds of embodiment sessions, whether those be with plant medicine or not. And I also saw how those topics gave my students so much healing, love, and relaxation in their lives. So I would actually feel like I missed out if I wasn't to mention Tantra in my presentation as well. And I say this even though I practice a much more modern and liberal type of sexual shamanism. But I also very much love and rely on ancient Tantra texts. And those texts talk about expansion as a way of growth, about sexuality as spiritual practice, about how connecting to our sensations, emotions, and pleasure can be actually a tool for growth. And just one last thing I want to say about Tantra is that this is something, those practices can be practiced by ourselves, the same as with another person. And so now I want to guide us into an exercise of visualization, which will last around 2 to 3 minutes. In this visualization, I will try to guide us to experience two very different experiences. The first type of experience, I will later claim, is more accessible and present in healing, And the second kind of experience is somewhat maybe less familiar. And so I invite you, however you feel comfortable, to close your eyes and to slowly start to let your awareness relax more and more. And I want you to visualize looking at yourself from a distance, as if your consciousness is rising up and you start to look at yourself from the outside, noticing all of your body as your awareness drifts a little more further and further until maybe it reaches the upper corner of the room you're in. And I want you to look at yourself, to look at how you sit, how you breathe, as you allow your breathing and your thoughts to become more and more slow. To notice how, with every exhale, your presence is slowly starting to disappear or dissolve in a way into everything that is around you. I want you to feel how you have less boundaries, less feeling of yourself as you unite more and more with everything, with the world, and actually with nothing in particular. This is the first kind of experience. And so, after some time, you might find yourself getting a little bored of this experience and actually wanting to experience things from the inside, to experience a different kind of experience. And so you find yourself magnetized back into your body slowly. And as you start to come closer into your body, you might start to feel all kinds of tingling sensations in all kinds of places in your body. And the minute you completely land back into your body, you can take a big breath to allow for this feeling and to enjoy this feeling of being alive in your body, to enjoy the feeling of every cell of your body, to enjoy your breathing and allow yourself to breathe more and to be more, and perhaps even allow yourself to move a little, to stretch, to shake, to do anything that feels good inside your body, and to feel how your body is actually the universe. Everything that is happening outside is also happening in your body. All emotions, all sensations, all experience, currently alive and even more alive as you breathe more and more and feel more and more and be. One last breath in this state, big one. Releasing with an exhale. As you slowly come back to your regular awareness, you can open your eyes. And so we will continue. I hope this was a fun experience and that it made you realize the second kind of an experience, the embodiment experience, and how it might be different from the other experience that is less connected to the body, but very much still present in our mind and our awareness. And so I want to connect Tantra and sexual healing to psychedelic, and to note actually that both of those topics actually talk about expansion as a way of being, a way of healing. And just to say that today in psychedelics, I feel like we are much more used to and know how to expand our mind rather than how to expand our body experience, our body intelligence, and our embodiment in our daily life, which is what I'm hoping that we can bring more and learn more about in the psychedelic therapy place. And so, Tantra also talks about looking at life in two different opposites and how it's so important to balance and to bring attention to all of those opposites. And I'm going to claim today that one side of it is much more present in psychedelic therapy, as in our world in general, and how we should try and what beautiful gifts can come out of if we also include the less common type of being and experience. Oh, just maybe to say that we are looking at maybe an outward experience versus a more inward experience, and maybe more masculine experience versus a more feminine experience, an experience that is looking at freedom as opposed to safety, our mind versus our body, and our thinking process versus our feelings. And so I want to talk just a little bit about my own report, my own experience that provided the most healing for me. And it's actually worth mentioning that in the psychedelic space, I usually would feel maybe even a little bit ashamed or embarrassed of these kind of experiences because I felt like they are so different than the kind of experience that are usually encouraged and talked about. And I thought maybe this means that I'm experiencing less or I'm less connected to myself. And the more I investigated different type of experiences and especially more feminine experiences, I began to realize that those experiences are not so unique to myself, but maybe just less talked about. And so for those experiences, I want to talk about experiences that I had that were really implementing a frequency of self-love and loving thoughts of my body and everything that I went through so far. I learned how to feel more. I learned how to touch myself, even just in my own hands, in different ways, in new kind of ways. I also investigated the relationship between my feminine and masculine side, and I came to discover how my more feminine side just really wants to just have fun all day, and how my masculine side is perhaps a little bit more workaholic and does not always allow her for that. And I learned how to bring more awareness into that and how to then shift those relationships and to create new patterns of being. I learned how to connect through those journeys to my sensuality, my breath, my presence in my body, my pleasure just of having a human experience. And I also learned how to discover places in my body that had less sensation, maybe that I was moving less or feeling less or breathing less too. And I learned how to shift that body experience and how to increase pleasures and experiences in those places as well. I also notice how even after being so many years a sexual healer, still when I would have those experiences in a ceremonial space, I always try to hide them a little. And I wasn't even sure if those experiences are actually welcomed into the psychedelic space, if I'm safe to express and to feel all those things inside of me. And so, what basically I want to talk about today is which things do we do not, or maybe less, invite into psychedelics. And I want to put my guess in and to say that probably those areas that we invite less, those experiences that we invite less, they are probably the experience that need the healing the most. And just to show you like just a little bit of a comparison between what we allow more in psychedelic therapy and what we allow less. So just to say that from what my observation, I noticed that we allow more stillness, but we allow less movement. We allow more our mind, our thinking and our stories, and we allow a little bit less for our raw emotions, and especially maybe the unpleasant emotions. We also allow more for clinic space, but we much less allow for access to nature. We allow more for past experiences, for diagnostic of our past experience, and less for actually experiencing the present and also inviting future experiences. And all of this leads to maybe like a general notion that we allow more for low energy and less for high ecstasy, which sexuality, of course, is a part of that. And you might ask yourself, is it safe? Like, can we allow for all of those things? Wouldn't it be dangerous to us, to our patients, to the world, actually? And just to say that, yeah, it's a really, really important question to ask, but it's not the question of whether we allow it or not, because anyway, it will exist. It's part of the human experience. And then the question that is relevant is not if we allow it or not, but do we talk about it? Do we present it? Do we put it inside the boundaries of the actual session? And so the more we allow more types of experiences in psychedelic journeys, the more we will have more routes for healing and for different healing, like different healing for different part of us. Plus, actually having embodiment of experiences can make those experiences much more clear and accessible to us. And just to say that I'm not saying like this is the right way to do things. I'm only presenting another way, which I feel like should be more accessible to us. And so what does it mean that embodiment of experience make them more accessible to us? And so, for example, I might have reached a very deep understanding in my mind. Like I might have understood why at 5 years old, because my mother did this and that, I behave today. But then it's not so sure to me, like, how do I change it or what do I do with it? So if when this memory comes up, I connect to my body and I feel maybe how stressful thinking actually causes my chest to close and my back to curl up a bit, I can work with this bodily sensation and I can actively bring more awareness into my body and slowly, slowly, slowly learn how to open my chest more. And when I do that, I also change the thoughts that come into that. And I make my mind also less closed and more open. And I want to finish by reading a quote from a book that I really love that has been a big factor in my life in the last year. And it goes like this: only by collectively falling back in love with the earth again and again will we once more understand how to be her adoring and very useful sons and daughters. This is a quote from a book about indigenous ways of restoring the world. And just to finish with some of the themes or ways of thinking that I would love that they would be more present in us and in the psychedelic realms. And this is connection to our senses and our body, our openness to pleasure, how we deal with our relationship and with self love, with the love of our body, and of course, our connection to nature. So, thank you so much for listening so far. This was me. I'm Ali Sitar, and I was talking about embodiment in psychedelic. If you like this topic, please connect with me on Facebook. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much.